Welcome to another tutorial from SQL Maestros. Today's topic is the WRITELOG wait type. Now this video is based on a discussion I had with one of our customers while doing the performance tuning consulting engagement. And in that discussion, I explained the customer what the WRITELOG wait type is all about. So the scenario that happened there was they saw WRITELOG wait type, the wait statistics, wait count, wait time, etc. pretty high, and it showed up in the top 5 wait stats. Now the typical query that we write, right? Find out the top 10 wait types or the top 5 wait types, etc. So the WRITELOG wait type showed up there. And of course, the moment WRITELOG wait type shows up, we all try to come to some kind of conclusion that there may be an issue with the IO subsystem is slow, the disk where the log files are placed is not fast enough, etc., etc. So with a bit of investigation, we figured out what was going on, and then I explained them that do not worry about the IO subsystem. It is all good. The problem lies somewhere else. Anyway, that discussion was done. The problem was solved. So I thought, why not record a video based on that experience and share it with the community, which is with you. So this video is divided into 2 parts. Part 1 is this video where we call it the WRITELOG wait type, the question. And the second video will be the answer, which is what I'm going to record next week. So if you're watching it instantly, the date is recorded and the date is published, or a few days after that, watch out for the next video, the answer, where I share the answer to the problem that I'm discussing today. And if you're watching this a few weeks later or a few days later, you can go to the answer directly. The link is there in the description of this video. Okay, so to quickly summarize, this entire learning is divided into 2 parts, the question and the answer. This video is the question, and the link to the answer is in the description. Okay, so let's discuss the background about the WRITELOG wait type. Internally, what happens? So if you understand the SQL Server transactional architecture, whenever you are performing an insert or an update, any modification on the data, SQL Server does not write that modification directly to the log file. It first writes that information in the memory, and that memory area is called as the log cache or the log buffer. And then the log buffer, the log cache is flushed out to the log file which is placed on the disk. And of course, there are events that will trigger when that happens, which is when the flush out happens. So SQL Server will register the WRITELOG wait type when the flush out process begins, when that process of writing the log cache to the log file begins. And there comes all these best practices about SQL Server IO, which is you should store the log file on a very fast storage. Your IO subsystem is so critical for SQL Server, specifically for TempDB or the log file. So place them on the fastest storage that you have, etc. Now, the moment we talk about IO, WRITELOG, etc., a general consensus is that when you see high wait time, high wait count for WRITELOG wait type, we try to look for problems into storage, into the IO subsystem of SQL Server. But really, the problem may lie somewhere else, and this is where this video comes into picture. So this video is about the problem. So let's look at a scenario, and I'm already hinting you that the problem is not with the disk subsystem. The IO is all good. The problem is somewhere else. Why you see high numbers for WRITELOG wait type. Let's get started. We're using AdventureWorks 2016 for the purpose of demo. Let's create a dummy table here called test1, which has a few attributes like identity column there, test name, test data, etc. Okay, it's not important what the schema of the table is. It's just a dummy table there. So first things first, I'm going to clear out the wait stats data. We have the statement called dbcc SQL perf, and we put the DMV here and clear as a parameter. Let's go and do that. And now let's check out the numbers for write log. So we have this DMV sysdm OS wait stats, which will give out all the historical wait information. And you can see right now, because we cleared off everything, all the numbers are 0 here for write log wait type. We are all good. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to insert 50,000 records in this table. Which table? What's the name of the table? The table is test1. So this is a very simple loop. Pay close attention to the TSQL code here, right? So we have the variable that we have declared, then we have a while loop. Okay, so you have this begin and end, and inside the loop structure, you have the insert statement. Point to be noted here, and this is where the hint is. There is no explicit transaction, which means each insert statement is like an implicit transaction, and they're going to be 50,000 or so. I mean, it's less than 50,000, so it's going to be like 49,999. Anyway, so let's go and run this. And while this is running, and before I take this, I'm going to copy this in a new query window. Let's put this in a new query window right away. Let's go and paste this. And what we are going to see here is while that code is running, that insert statement is running in the loop, we are going to see how many records get inserted into the test table. And you will see the wait stats for a write log wait type. If you execute now, you will see, of course, 0 records for the table, and all the numbers for your write log wait type is all 0. Let's go and get started. We are going to select this. Let's go and select this and execute. And the insert statement has begun. The loop has begun. Let's go and jump over to this one and look at the output. Okay, both the statements create a problem. Let's go and do the first one. There you go. Okay, still waiting, still waiting. I'm only going to take the select count there. Okay, 18,263 rows there, and you can see the numbers going up, and it's taking a bit of time, right? Let's go and do this one and look into the wait stats. So now if you observe the waiting task count and the wait time in milliseconds, the first two attributes out there for write log, you will see the numbers going up. Just keep an eye on those numbers, 39, 31, then you go 41, 33. Then you see 43, 35. Let's go back and look at the total count out there, 48,000, and we're just about done now. Okay, there you go. We're done. Go back to the other window. The loop has completed. We have inserted about 49,999 records. And let's record our numbers. We have about 50,000 records. This is what the code we wrote, less than 50,000. And look at the stats for write log wait type. Waiting task count is about 50,000 or so, and wait time in millisecond is about 40,000 or so. There is a small catch here, right? I mean, doesn't the wait task count and the number of records kind of match closer to each other? Maybe that has something to do with it. But anyway, so high wait stats for write log. Is the IO subsystem slow? Absolutely not. I'm running this on an SSD, so not really. Let's try again and let's do something else now. Okay, let's drop the table. Okay, and remember, this video is about the question. This video, when you watch it, it will get you thinking as to what's going on internally, with the transaction log, with the log buffer, and the so-called the storage architecture of SQL Server, the transactional architecture of SQL Server, the execution architecture of SQL Server. Anyway, so what we will do is create the table again. Let's do this afresh. Okay, we are going to clear off the wait stats. We're doing that again, and just to show it to you that all the numbers are 0. Back to this other window, which we are going to monitor while we run the loop once more, and just to show you, we are back to all 0. Nothing has changed in IO, no reconfiguration done, nothing at all. And now we are going to run the loop once again. But before I do that, I want you to take a closer look at the loop statement this time. Look at the TSQL code here, and do you observe something different than the previous code? Take a moment. And I'm sure you're going to figure this out. Yes, I've put a comment. Note this. which is now the loop structure is inside an explicit transaction. So we put a begin Tran here, and then you have the commit. The explicit transaction was missing in the previous loop code, which means, as I said earlier, each insert statement was behaving like an implicit transaction here. But now all the so-called 50,000 insert statements are put inside an explicit transaction. This has something to do with the architecture inside SQL Server here. So let's go and execute this. One of the things that you will note here is that the previous execution took about 30 seconds or so to execute, and it took a while, right? And now let's see how much time this takes. We didn't note that time. We should have noted that time. But anyway, you know that it was taking a bit of time and I was going and running this code. Let's see how much time it takes now, and we'll then record the write log numbers. So let's go and execute this. Go back here, look at the count there. We are done. Magic. We are done. We have already got 49,000 records into the table. And if we go and execute this, and you will see write log, wait task, the count is just 2 and wait time in millisecond is 1. What is going on? So if you look at that again, we have got 50,000 rows inside, and your wait stats here, the count is 2 and wait time in millisecond is 1. Okay, this has something to do with implicit and explicit transaction. Okay, that's the question. There's no problem with the IO subsystem. Okay, so this is the code that we ran and it completed successfully, and it just took 2 seconds. This is what I want you to see. It just took 2 seconds. Okay, because we did not record the numbers earlier, I'm going to do that now. Okay, let's drop the table. Let's create the table again, because you got to be sure what's going on. Let's clear off the wait stats, and to show this to you again, let's see all the numbers as 0 and do this once more. This is the first loop without the explicit transaction, and we are doing this. You got to record the numbers, and I'll tell you this took about more than 30 seconds. Okay, and see, this is still running. So if you look at the status bar, look at the execution time there, it's more than 10 seconds now. Let's jump over to the other window, see how many records have been inserted by now. 15,000 records, 17,000. And while the insert is going on, the wait time and the wait count for write log wait type is going high. This is what you had observed earlier, but now I'm also going to see the total time it takes for this entire loop statement to complete. We are already over 30 seconds. So I'm just doing this again so that you're clear as to what's going on. Okay, let's look at the number once more. Are we done? 45,000. We're still not done. 46. Okay, and likewise, if you look at the wait task count there, 50,000 or so, I think we will be done by now. There you go. And again, just note that about 50,000 records and write log task count, again, wait type 50,000 or so. Okay, how much time did it take? This took about 50 seconds. Look at the status bar there, 51 seconds for the execution. Okay, so this took about 50 seconds, and you look at the high numbers for your write log wait type. But when you put the insert statement in an explicit transaction, which is this code that I showed you, it completes in a jiffy. It just takes about 2 seconds. The entire 50,000 records get inserted, and there is hardly any wait type for write log. So this video is about the question and about the misconception that when you see high wait stats, which is high wait count and wait time for write log, there is an issue with the IO subsystem. Not really. There is something else. Okay, figure that out. That is a little kind of homework. If you're new to SQL Server, if you're just learning about wait stats, wait types, if you're just getting started with SQL Server performance tuning, take this up as a challenge and let us know in the comments what is going on. This is the question video. The answer to this will be posted next week as another video. If you're watching it much later, then the link to that video you will find in the description of this video. Okay, at this point, I'm waiting for your answer. Comment on this video and let us know what is going on? Why do you see this difference? Of course, there is no issue with the IO subsystem. It's all good and you've seen that. So what is going on inside SQL Server? Happy SQL. If you like the content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you're notified on new videos. Most importantly, visit SQLmaestros.com. There's a lot of SQL learning resources out there. Video courses, master classes, lab kits, ebooks, blogs, hands-on labs, and a lot more. Follow us on Twitter @SQLmaestros and myself _Bansal. Last but not the least, do subscribe to our newsletters. See you soon in another video. Goodbye.